Okay, so I'm a little upset because I just recorded this video talking about the banner and, you know, kind of what each of the servants do and kind of just doing a guide for like, oh, maybe you should summon for this guy or maybe you should summon for this guy. And I wasn't recording the entire time, so yeah, now I gotta do this all over again. So basically, what my main like point that I would like to get across is that you should not summon on this banner, because next event is Oku, which is going to bring Kama and Kiara, who are both very good, exceptionally powerful servants. After that, we'll have like a little bit of a break, but then we move into Summer, like the Summer 3 rerun, which brings Summer John, who is very powerful, right? And then we move into Summer 4, which brings Berserker Musashi, who is like a looping Berserker, right? Like she loops her NP like very easily. Well, I don't want to say very easily. She does it easily when we get Castoria. Right now, you can kind of struggle. Like, let me be transparent. She's a little wonky to use right now, but once Castoria comes out, it's significantly easier. But then you also get Summer Melt, who is probably the most standout servant of Summer 4, unironically. And then also you get Ruler Artoria, who you can technically skip because she's not great until she gets her buff next year. And so if you're trying to space out your courts and make the most out of it, if you're patient, you can just wait till next year for Summer 4 rerun and then summon for Ruler Artoria. But I'm not smart and I want her now. So I'm not going to be one of those people. And then after that, we're going to have like the Case Files event, which is like Waver and Reigns, who are like two just general, just fine supports, right? They're very, very good. And then we get Arjuna Alter, who is, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, Arjuna Alter is redonkulous. He just outputs so much DPS. It's crazy. So it's like we're having just powerful servant after powerful servant, right? It's just like the game is going to be competing for your money, like very, very hard. And so the only way I can see you justifying like summoning on this banner, like if you're free to play, you cannot waste your courts on like a banner like this, right? Like I'll talk about it for a little bit about each of these servants and everything. For those of you that like maybe are like slight pay to play players, or you're like a whale and you're like, oh, I really do want to summon. But really like you can't, dude. Your courts are going to be put so much better in like just other banners. Because like just to like briefly go over it, James Moriarty is very, very good, right? I think he's very good after he gets his buff, but he's not as good as like any of these other servants, right? He's not competing with like Kama or like the Summer servants or Arjuna Alter or the viability and flexibility Waver and Reigns give your teams. He's not competing with those units, right? Karna, as a Buster AoE Lancer, sure, has a niche of anti-divine, which is very powerful. It's like 150% to 200%. It's very strong. And you know, you can get away with using him in some like challenge quest fights, even as like a single target servant, despite him being AoE, right? Because his damage can get very high if you're fighting divines. But you know, you have characters like Ereshkigal and Lancer Artoria who like are they've been thrown around like on banners all the time, like over like the last year. I say all the time like it's Dokkan, but like they get like 1 or 2 raid ups and I'm like, yeah, they've been around all like all over the place. I get it's like, you know, if you don't have either of them, maybe Karna's a little more appealing, but he's a servant that's on every banner. You should let Karna come to you, and you shouldn't pursue the characters that are on all these banners, right? The servants you need to be pursuing are the limited ones, right? The ones that aren't on any banner, because eventually, just over the course of time, through the GSSRs or just you go hard on a certain banner, eventually these servants will come to you, right? So Karna's good, but you probably have somebody that can fill his position and you'll just get along just fine. And if you've got Scotty, you don't care about Karna at all because you're probably using like Parvati as your Lancer. That's who you should be going for, is instead of Karna. And then Achilles, maybe you can justify summoning for if you have Scotty, because maybe you need like a good like rider that can loop, because Achilles has like, I believe once he procs his NP, he has like 50% quick buff, because his NP gives him a quick buff, and he has a quick buff on his first skill. His third skill gives him like 30% NP gen for 1 turn, which might sound bad, but it also has a battery, so kind of evens out, I guess. But again, like, if you don't have Scotty, not really gonna be viable to summon for him. You're not gonna be able to make the most use out of him. And if you do have Scotty, you might, like, if you have Dante's or Lancelot, why use Achilles? You know, you can use other servants, right? It's just, you know, why, you know? And Vlad, okay, so Vlad's not bad. Vlad's very, very good. I probably do need to do a video on Vlad, just to be like, hey, dummies, Vlad isn't bad. He's very strong, right? It's just, it's hard to make use of Vlad right now because he really, really, really wants to be in an arts team, which requires you right now to have Tamamo, who, like, 5 people in the entire game have Tamamo, right? So, I mean, you can do, like, double waiver, but you just don't get as much use out of it. Like, maybe you can just bring a friend Tamamo, but it's like, you're summoning for Vlad to then bring a friend Tamamo, right? It's just like, yeah. It's just like, you're going through a lot of effort for why? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the ultimate question is why summon for Vlad? Like, there's nothing that Vlad is going to give you specifically that you can't find in, like, another, like, class, right? Like, instead of using Vlad for, like, a Lancer battle, why don't you just use, like, Saber Lancelot? Or if you're fighting a Saber, why don't you just use Detroit Emiya, right? Like, it's just stuff like that. It's like, you can find replacements for, like, in these other things. Like, you know, you're fighting a Rider, just bring the free Shiki, right? She's NP5 as well. She'll probably rival his damage anyway. So it's like, there's nothing that Vlad is doing specifically that, you know, it's, I can't see a reason to, like, just say, like, go summon for Vlad. As good as I think he is, right? I think he's fine. It's just, there's no real reason to summon for him. And then, again, it's a very similar situation with, like, with these two, though. Like, you could just let him come to you. Even if you have Tamamo, I don't think he's worth, like, pursuing, right? It's a very good team, but it's not worth. Tesla's, like, the first servant that I'm like, okay, I can understand if you summon for Tesla. He has a 50% battery. The only other AoE Buster Archer that has one is Ishtar. And if you don't have Ishtar, or you're like me and you just hate Ishtar for character reasons, because she really did do my boy Gilgamesh dirty. So, you know, Tesla might be your only option, right? And Tesla does do very well, like, with damage, right? He does very big boy damage. They buffed his second skill, so even if you miss his NP damage buff, you can get the guaranteed attack buff. He has a very strong modifier against, I think it's Earth and Sky servants, I believe. So, you know, he's doing extra damage to a lot of servants. But again, he's, like, the closest I can maybe, you know, give to, like, that's maybe a servant you might summon for. But it's like, you gotta, like, not have Scotty, and you gotta, like, not have any other good decent archer, because, like, Gilgamesh and Napoleon they're fine, though. You'll make do with them, right? I say make do even though they're, like, really good. If you have Ishtar, you basically just have Nicholas Tesla with more crit damage, right? So it's like, you don't need to summon for him, right? And then it's like, yeah, it's hard to, like, be like, he's good, but it's like, whoa, but he's not comparing to the power that comes after him, right? Enkidu and Cu Alter. I'm going to skip over El Malloy, because for El Malloy, it's literally just wait for the case files to come around, then summon for waiver, because this year is very powerful. And what you want to do is you want to try to skip banners and kind of let yourself build up as much quartz as possible in between banners. So if you can skip waiver right here and then summon on the case files thing, that gives you just a little bit of extra time to build up some more quartz, right? So you have Enkidu and Cu Alter, who are both solo servants. They're good at what they do. Enkidu has, like, the highest technical damage in the game, right? With his NP, it's so massive. He does the big damage. But outside of that, and, like, soloing, you don't really use Enkidu a whole lot. His kit's kind of wacky. It's a little hard to use, right? So it's like, I can't, like, recommend people to summon for him unless you just really like Enkidu. Again, a servant that's on every banner, you could just let him come to you even if you really like Enkidu. Cu Alter, he's a bit different because we all know how good the 3-star Cu is, and they basically just said, what if he was a 5-star and was a berserker? So he still doesn't die, but he continues to do, like, massive monstrous damage, and he's just really, really good. He just doesn't die, right? So he's a little harder for me to say to not summon for, because he's actually, like, one of the locked servants, although I think he's only story locked, so once you finish America, you can summon for him. But I can understand maybe if you're like a newer player and you're like, well, I want to summon Cu Alter so I can get through all of the story easier, but it's like, just bring a friend Cu Alter. I don't know. It's like the line of logic you would have to use to maybe like justify summoning for him here is a bit wonky. Like, again, just beat America, let him go into the story pool, or just let him go on raid up again, because these are all servants that they just throw on random banners all the time. These are just like the default people that they throw out everywhere. So it's like, just wait for Cu Alter to like go on a really solid banner, right? Just wait for it to be like, it's Merlin and Cu Alter. I don't think that would ever be a banner, because that's literally like, you win the game, the banner. So I don't think they'd ever do that. But, you know, just wait for something like that for it to happen. Arjuna, there's literally no reason to summon for him when Tesla's on the banner, so that's just immediate skip. Ozymandias, very good servant. His third skill is probably like the main reason you would use him, but stiff competition is a single target rider. You know, there's Kets, there's Maeve. Kentucky Rider was free to play. He had one rerun technically. I was gonna say 2 reruns, but I was like, well, there's the original event and then there's the rerun, so I guess technically, you know, you've had 2 chances to get him. If you missed that, I guess you still have people like, even George is very fine as like a 2-star. I know it's gonna be a meme. It's like, he's a 2-star, he's bad, but it's like, George is good. Ushiwakamaru is very good. You have options for riders. You don't need to summon for Ozzy. Just save your courts, right? Li Shuin, let me ask you, who is the next servant that's coming out? Who is the next servant coming out? If you summon for Li Shuin, I'm coming to your house to smack the goofy out of you. Kama is literally, quite literally, the next servant coming out. And you're going to summon for, like, infinitely inferior Kama, dude. No way. No argument to be made. Don't even do it, bro. And then Zhang Yu. Do you know what the 2 other Berserkers that are AoE are coming out this year? Musashi, Arjuna Alter. If you can justify Zhang Yu being better than either of those 2, then be my guest. Go ahead and summon for him. But you're wrong, dude. You're wrong. He doesn't come close. He might be comparable to current Musashi because he doesn't have Castoria. But dude, once she gets Castoria, she's a Berserker that loops, right? It's like, imagine if Raiko just gender NP every single turn. It's just like, haha, I just bring Musashi to every event and I just farm everything easily. It's super nuts, dude. So, I mean, that's my general thoughts on the banner. I might have sounded a little more dead on the inside, but that's because I already recorded this video once, and then I'm having to go back over it again. So, bottom line, don't summon. Please don't summon, dude. Like, Kama, Summer 3, Summer 4, Case Files, Arjuna Alter. Those are just, like, infinitely more powerful banners. Just bob and weave all the banners in between, right? If there's like some little gay event that comes out where it's like, oh hey, do you want to summon for I don't even know, like, some of the other notable events that are coming out this year, but just skip them, dude. They're not good. Like, trash. Don't summon for these garbage banners or these bad units when we have godly units right around the corner. But with that being said, it is your boy. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.